Hi everyone, welcome to Module 2 of Nursing 504, Cultural Diversity Healthcare. I wanted to review with you a few things to get you started for this module. The readings for this week are out of chapters 3, 4, and 5, and that's if you have the 4th or the 5th editions. So the content is relatively the same, so you won't be missing anything if you have the 5th edition opposed to the 4th and vice versa. So I wanted to remind everyone that your reflection on The Spirit Catches You is due next week on Monday. That's actually April Fool's Day, 4/1/19. I've also posted additional resources for you to view and to read up on for Module 2. So you can access those YouTube videos. There's a PDF file. The resources such as the PDF, this one's not too lengthy, but there's another one like this PDF version of the Joint Commission Roadmap. Sometimes these are very lengthy documents. You do not have to read these through entirety. It's basically just a supplemental resource for you in case you wanted to read more about those things. And I do have just a little commentary here that you can read through, more links, health literacy, a couple of PDF, a PDF and then a couple of videos for you to watch. And then, so this is going to help you basically connect the dots, if you will, between that health literacy, looking at specifically, if we go up here to our objectives, looking at social justice, distributive justice, market justice, you'll read about that in your textbook. But some of these do tie into the additional resources as well as the additional resources for health literacy and how we can work to decrease health literacy in our patient populations. So you can just, like I said, access those. Everything should work. I did check the links to make sure right before I posted this video, which leads me into my other topic that I wanted to go over with you. I just recently learned that the assessment tool, or the quiz, if you will, I call it a quiz, it's not a quiz, but it was basically an assessment tool to see where your cultural competence is. I learned that website is now charging people to use their instruments. So they did not 3 weeks ago, right before I opened up this class. I made sure my links were working and things were okay. But you know, that's one of the downfalls with online education when you try to bring in sources from the web. You know, websites are up one day and then they're down the next. And obviously in this instance, a free tool was accessible for everyone, and then, you know, the next day they're charging people. So it was a really great tool. I think a lot of people were using it, and I think the developers of the tool thought, well, you know, with as many people that are accessing this, we ought to start charging for it and making a profit. But so because of that, I found a different tool. It's not quite as entertaining to take, but it does capture that cultural awareness. It does make you start thinking about some of the issues with, or not issues, but some of the parameters with cultural competency. So I have that posted, and I will move this up actually, so it is not at the bottom, but the cultural competency quiz, this is going to be replacing the one that is no longer accessible. But if you click on this link, it's going to bring you to this self-assessment checklist. What you will simply do is answer the question. You will check the box that it is closely related to you. And then when you scroll down at the bottom, you'll see how things are scored. So obviously, if you are scoring 4s, then you have a higher level of cultural competence. If you're at 3, not too bad, a little bit of work to do. If you're scoring at a 1 or a 2, then we probably have to work on improving that cultural competence and particularly that cultural awareness. Now, if you notice the last question here, it addresses white privilege. So aware of my privilege if I am white. Obviously, if you are not white, you do not have to answer this parameter. So what you'll do is you will just add up your scores with the remaining columns or the remaining questions. And then for your assignment, you basically will just write a one-page reflection about where you had scored. Maybe if you scored all fours, then provide some examples about, that really supports your high level of cultural competence and self-awareness. If you score on the lower end, then just talk about some of the things that you can improve upon. Maybe if you do not have a very culturally diverse area that you live in, or communities where there isn't a rich cultural diversity, then think about things that you can do to improve your knowledge, or to improve your ability to immerse yourself in different cultures. So, like for example, the town I live in, we're not very culturally diverse, but I am fortunate that I live less than an hour from a larger city, and so I will go to different festivals, or to different restaurants. One example is I gone to an Ethiopian restaurant, and I think if it wasn't for my friend who said, no, we really need to go, you will really like it. I trusted her, and it turns out I love it. I love Ethiopian food. I loved the culture. I actually sat there with the owner of the restaurant for probably 2 hours after we had eaten, and just tried to learn as much as I could about the Ethiopian culture. So, little things like that can make a huge difference. If you can try to connect with someone, and you will at the end of this course, towards the end, you're going to actually meet with someone who's from a different culture than you, and sit down and talk with them. So, you will be given that opportunity to do that. So I wanted to bring your attention that yes, the assessment tool is very different than what I had originally planned. But that's not really going to change your analysis paper. This is actually the rubric for the self-assessment or self-awareness paper. When it says please read the website, it's the lacrosseconsortium.org. So if you just put lacrosseconsortium.org, or if you copy and paste this portion of the web address, you'll be able to learn more a little bit about the Lacrosse Consortium. And then you'll complete that little online survey. You can also copy and paste this link in there. You don't have to use the tab through the module, whichever works best for you. And then, again, you just do the one-page reflection after you take that, I call it a quiz. I know it's not a quiz, but it's that self-assessment. And then just, again, kind of elaborate on it. It's a reflective paper. So you do not have to use resources or anything unless you want to. So just, you can include insights from the readings. And it says insights on the readings from the website. Just do the insights from your readings and insights that you gleaned from the last couple of chapters in your textbook, okay? The website does have some things. It's not as detailed as what the cultural competence website had, but we'll work with that. The score on the cultural competency quiz, you just get a point for telling me, how many points you've earned. And again, if that last parameter doesn't equate to you, then you would just take the total number that you had and just elaborate that, I did not answer the last question or whatever. How will you use the information to improve your own cultural competence? So again, it's very reflective. If you scored all fours, then you just simply, instead of it saying to improve your own culture competence, you just say, all the examples that you can think of that will help basically provide that rationale as to why you are so culturally competent. Maybe you have a lot of exposure. Maybe you have many diverse populations that you work with, that sort of thing. So I hope that makes sense. I apologize for that. Like I said, 3 weeks ago, before I opened up the course, everything was working just fine. All the links were good. That assessment was available, and then boom, it was like it just felt like a ton of bricks hit me whenever I learned that. So, and also too, I wanted to apologize that some of the dates weren't that they didn't match from what was in the course to what's on the rubric, always just follow the rubric. There are lots of places for due dates within the course that I did not know existed. So, just follow what is on the calendar. So if you go into the calendar, everything should be relatively up to date. I also changed, if you have the 5th edition, I updated the readings. Your book is a little bit different towards the end as far as what gets covered in certain chapters. So, for example, like chapters 3, 4, and 5 is the same, like 7 through 10 is okay. It doesn't really get down until we get into module 6 that things will be a little bit different there, just how the authors did their new version of the text. So, but all the assignments will be the same. So if you have any questions about that, please don't hesitate to contact me. And then with the discussion board, I was able to read and respond to everyone's week 1 question 1. I am going to go in and read everyone's week 1 question 2, and I'll respond periodically. Since it was a week that had 2 discussion board questions, time gets kind of tricky to do everything. So I will definitely read through all of them, and then on certain ones, if there's something that really I want to highlight on or, really point out accolades to, then I'll go ahead and post in those discussion boards for the second question of week 1. But I won't be posting any questions or anything that you have to go back and answer or anything like that in the first week. And then starting with discussion board 2, I will be responding to everyone's initial posts. And sometimes, if I get time, then I'll go in and post in response posts as well. But everyone will have an initial post response for me. So for the second discussion board, discuss how market justice impacts health literacy that can enhance or decrease vulnerability and resiliency. And what can you do in your practice to improve health literacy? And it just has to be specific in describing your actions. So health literacy is really paramount to patient outcomes, regardless of whatever setting you're in. You could be in school health or a school nurse, and you are charged with providing health education to anyone from, elementary school all the way up through high school. And if you are in the acute care setting, of course, we think about patient discharge. If you work out in the community, certainly there's a lot of avenues in which you are improving patients' health literacy. So think about those factors that you really need to zero in on. And this is one of my favorite questions. I'll give you an example, and I'll probably post this too. But, I work part or PRN in an urgent care, and oftentimes, we're not too far away from a hospital, but oftentimes we'll get patients that come in with severe chest pain, and the pain radiates down their left arm and up into their neck and to their face. And, we stabilize them at the urgent care. All we have really, at ours in particular, is oxygen and AED and aspirin. And those are really the only interventions that we have. We don't carry nitro. We don't even have a crash cart. So, when I think of improving health literacy in that realm, I would love to sometime have a community forum where I'm educating people on when you need to go straight, you need to call 911. Those people should have called 911. They could have gotten an ambulance that has all of those resources. I've had patients in an urgent care who have chopped off a finger, so we can stabilize them, but they're still going to get an ambulance ride to the hospital. So I think that's a big part of health literacy is understanding where you need to go when certain situations arise. But I think that's just kind of my thing because I experience that every time I work pretty much. So anyway, I think I'm running out of time, but if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact me. So your initial post for the discussion board is due on Thursday, and then you'll do 2 response posts due on Sunday, and you just need 1 reference for your initial post, and that's it. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks.